Welcome to the Online Success Journey Podcast, your opportunity to discover and learn from entrepreneurs like yourself. This is not your typical podcast, but a place where you can get the real story and find out how real people encounter speed bumps and detours, but journey through to find success. Now here's your host for the Online Success Journey Podcast, Patience.
Hello everyone and welcome to Online Success Journey. This is episode 98. Are you ready to join the clan? Today we have Irene Manson, the co-founder of CareCallingNow, a service that is changing the way people check on their loved ones from anywhere in the world. Their idea is a simple dial telephone service to make sure family members are okay. The concept inspired by Irene's mother-in-law who was vulnerable and living alone. Hello, Irene.
Hi, Patience.
I know the clan is anxious to hear your story, so let's get started with the basics. Can you tell my clan a little bit about your background, what you did before you started your own online line? Take us right up to the last job or business before you are online.
Okay, well, for the last 12 months ago, we got out of a business that we'd been in for 18 years. It was property management, so we looked after 88 townhouses in a gated community. So we were responsible for collecting the rent, finding new tenants, making sure that they paid their rent on time and all that sort of thing. So it was quite a comfortable lifestyle, and our children were still at school when we started there, and they have now since graduated university and are living out on their own. So it was a good life for almost 18 years. So then when we moved up here many years ago, probably 30 years ago, we left Ian's mother behind in another state. So she was about 1,000 miles away from where we were, and she lived alone, and we were worried about her being by herself. So we bought her one of the medical alert necklaces, the things that you wear around your neck. And if you need some assistance, you push the button and help will come. So we thought, problem solved. She's okay. We don't need to worry. We try and call her as often as we can, but at that stage the children were small and, you're busy taking children to school, doing things. We were working, we had mortgage to pay, so, we were very busy with life. And we thought, as I said, problem solved, we'll call her once a week or whatever. But the problem we didn't realise was that she didn't wear it. So one time she did fall and she laid on the floor for about 2.5 days before a neighbour noticed that they hadn't seen her around, went to investigate and discovered that she'd fallen, as I said, 2.5 days earlier. And so she ended up in hospital severely dehydrated, and we sort of thought, surely there must be something better. But at that stage, there wasn't. So it took us until now that we've become seniorpreneurs, because Ian and I were both in our 60s when we've started this online business. And the business itself, the calls just go through normal phone lines, so you can use a landline or a mobile phone. But, of course, the marketing and all that sort of stuff is done online, because it's not a shopfront, bricks and mortar type of business. So 12 months ago, as I said, we sold our business, and we decided if we were going to do this, that we needed to do it. We needed to focus on it, put all our effort and focus on it, because like a lot of people, I get distracted with bright, shiny things, and I get distracted very easily and think, that looks like a good idea, that looks like a good idea. And also we didn't want to have excuses and say, I'm too busy at work, I haven't got time to do my Twitter posts, and I haven't got time to do this and I haven't got time to do that because work gets in the way. So we've really got no excuses. We've got to focus on this 100% because we've got nothing else.
Wow, what a background, what a pair. Okay, what do you do, both of you?
Well, my husband, Ian, he does a lot of the actual internet sort of stuff. He's worked on our website. He's the one that does the Twitter and Facebook posts, and he's more understanding and au fait with the SEOs and all that sort of stuff, the marketing side of things. Whereas I do perhaps more the face-to-face thing, the talking to people, things like doing the podcasts and just generating, establishing relationships with people because we're trying to value add to existing businesses. So we're looking at senior citizens centres, in-home care service providers, because we feel we're probably better trying to value add to existing businesses than trying to find, say, you with a grandmother or, your mum that lives alone, where we can help more people rather than, trying to focus on individuals, because it's very difficult. If you go onto Facebook and want to do advertising, there's no category. While Facebook pretty much classifies everybody with almost everything, you can't find out, do they have an elderly aging parent that lives alone, or do they have a vulnerable auntie that needs help? We can get the age group, but we can't drill down that far to find out, that sort of detail.
Wow. Okay, let's put man aside because you have been in business for many years before you moved into this new one. How did you know you were successful? How did you know your idea was really a good one?
For this current business?
Yes.
Well, because there's so many stories about people who die. I know there was one just recently in the UK where a lady, and she wasn't all that old, she was a single mum and she was epileptic, and she had an epileptic fit, and I think she must have choked on her tongue or something like that, and she died. And she had a 4-year-old, a young son. I think he was a bit older than that, but he was autistic. And so he didn't know what to do. And so he just curled up beside his mother, and he then died too because there was nobody to look after him. And the people in the neighbourhood all just thought, the smell, obviously, they just thought it was her cooking, which is a bit sad. Doesn't say a lot for her cooking. But, there's so many stories like that. Here in Australia, there's one about a lady, 8 years she was dead in her home before somebody went to investigate. And what happens these days with all the online stuff, how we pay we set up direct payments, either online or direct debits through our bank accounts. We pay the rent, we pay the electricity. And, I don't know about where you are, but certainly here in Australia, if you get a discount on your electricity if you set up an automatic payment. So they just take the money out. And if the money, like with this woman for the 8 years, her pension was still going into her bank account, so her bills were being paid. So the red flags weren't going up that, stuff wasn't being paid. So nobody really noticed that she wasn't around. So it's a sign of our times too, that whilst we're more connected with phones and all that sort of stuff, we're less physically connected to people in our neighbourhood.
That's really a sad story. Yeah. Also, where I used to live, this lady passed away, and we didn't realize because I never even seen her to start off with, and then I was like, this the flat next to me. I was like, this flat is really being smelly. I don't know why we should not taken her bin out. So I was like, I didn't know because I used to work nights and I would come in the morning and I would go. So I didn't really going to see her. And then within 3 weeks into that she was found dead. So it was really shocking that it took that long, 3 weeks. But for me, I was like, this one, she's not cleaning, she's not taking the rubbish. Maybe that's why it's smelling. But no, she
absolutely.
had passed away.
And there's stories in America where people, the next door neighbours, mow the lawn. And, all that sort of stuff because they think they're being helpful, but they don't think further. They think, oh, she's just gone away and, we'll be neighbourly and we'll help. So what our service does is it calls people. So ours is very low tech. It just calls you every day. So, for example, you might say for that lady next door, for example, she could have got a phone call. A lot of people get it early, first thing in the morning, around 8 o'clock, thereabouts when they're having their cup of tea or their breakfast, and they'll get a call, good morning patients, this is your daily care call from CareCallingNow. Please push any numbered key on your phone to acknowledge that you're okay. And then it'll say, please push the button now, and we've designed it so that they can push any button, so they don't have to put their glasses on. They don't have to think, oh, now did she say do I have to push 2 or 5 or 6 or 1? You can push any button you like. And then it'll say, thank you, your call has been received. Have a nice day. So it takes about 20 seconds. It's not intrusive. It doesn't take a lot of time, and not everybody wants to engage with people, but they do want to know that somebody's thinking about them every day, and that if something is wrong. And the thing we've found, a lot of people worry about their pets. They don't care so much about what happens to them, but if they fall down and they're lying on the floor and they're there for a couple of days, who feeds the cat, or, who feeds the fish or the bird or the dog or whatever? They're more concerned about them, their pets, than they are about themselves.
Okay. I see that you started your new business in the late years. Is it ever too late to start? Because I would be like, if someone is there thinking, I think everything to start is finished, I'm already old, I can't really start a business. Is it too old to start?
Never too old. As I said, we're both in our 60s and we've started this, and there was a report done here with our national broadband network, which is our internet service provider that's supposed to be supplying us with fast internet. But that's a whole other story. Okay. And they did a report and they discovered that there were actually more older people starting online businesses than millennials and Gen Ys. Wow. Because what happens is you Gen Ys and millennials, you're all busy, you've got to be working, so you haven't got the luxury like we have of saying, well, I can sell everything. I don't need to, I'm at the stage where I've got sufficient funds behind me that I'm not reliant on a job. Also, we have a network, we have experience. Over the years we've tried so many businesses that didn't work. So I think in a lot of ways it's easier as long as you're open to learning new things and you're prepared to, as we say in Australia, have a go. Why wouldn't you try something? A lot of people, it's scary, and I guess we were both lucky in that the type of personalities that we are, we weren't fearful. We thought, why not?
Wow. When do you stop from trying? People will try once and say, oh, I tried that, it failed. I tried this one, it failed. How long shall we keep trying, Irene?
As long as it takes.
Wow.
There's there's a famous quote, and I don't know what the exact quote is, but Ian and I, we in another life, we were basketball players. And there's a quote about Michael Jordan, that he took so many shots and he missed so many shots, but you just have to keep making them because the next one's going to be the one that works. And if it's not, well, then it's the next one.
What made him so great.
Yeah.
I didn't quite catch that, Irene. What did he say?
He said that's what made him so great.
He missed 3,000 shots.
All right. Okay. Okay. All right. So you've been in business in the property business for 18 years. Now you moved into this care calling. Do you have mentors or coaches, you and Ian?
Yes, we do. And that's been a learning curve too. We've spent money on people who promised a lot of stuff and didn't actually deliver, or were perhaps not the right type of coach that we needed. And as I said, we wasted a lot of money. And I think that's the thing that you perhaps have to recognise and say, partly that's the bright, shiny thing too. Sometimes you get a little bit desperate for somebody to help you, and you perhaps don't look at the big picture, and what they tell you seems to be a good thing, but you perhaps need to take a step back and have a really good look and ask yourself the question, what is it that I want from this mentor? Is this the right mentor? Is he offering what I really need, or am I just bedazzled with, the hype and the all the excitement and the enthusiasm? And you need to step back and have a look and take time rather than be impulsive, which has, as I said, cost us a lot of money, being perhaps not quite so, not quite so diligent maybe to delve a little bit deeper, to just look at the surface, because there's so many life coaches and so many coaches of this and coaches of that than ever before, that there's pretty much a coach for everything or anything you can possibly imagine. So just be sure of what you want from the coach and make sure that that's what they're actually offering.
And see what their experience is in real life.
Yeah, Ian's saying see what their experience is in real life. Have they done what they're talking about, or are they just talking about theory?
Okay. What is the most valuable thing your mentor has told you?
That success doesn't happen without taking action.
Wow. What is the most valuable thing you have ever given away?
How do you mean given away?
Anything in business, in everyday life, what is the valuable thing you think you have given away so far in your business?
Well, I think with the most valuable thing that we give away with our business is peace of mind. Peace of mind for the family, knowing that the person that they're worried about that lives alone is okay. The peace of mind for the person that's receiving the call to know that their family is sufficiently concerned about them, that even if they don't ring them every day, that they are thinking about them and that they do worry about them. So I think peace of mind is probably the most valuable thing that we give away.
All right. Tell us more about your business, CareCallingNow.
Okay. Well, there's not a whole lot else to tell because it's a pretty simple, basic service. It's a lot of people say, oh, I don't need that. I have one of those medical alerts, the buttons that you push, the panic buttons or the emergency buttons. But we've heard so many stories. The problem with those is, as was the case with my mother-in-law, they don't wear them, or, and it sits in the drawer with the hearing aid next to the bed. Also, the thing is with at night when they get up to go to the toilet, you're not going to put on your medical alert to wear it, to pick it up, to go to the bathroom and then come back to bed. And often that's when things happen. Also, we had a case where the lady had a stroke and she wasn't able to push the button. She had the thing on. And with the sort of generation too, it is that baby boomer generation. A lot of them, I was talking to a girl and she said, oh, yeah, my grandma had one and she wore it and she fell, but she didn't push the button because she didn't want to be a bother. Oh. So she didn't want to inconvenience anybody by them rushing with the ambulance to come and get her. She'd rather lie on the floor for a couple of days and wait for somebody to come and find her. And also some of them, I think the shock of falling they're not sort of thinking straight, or they don't remember what to do with it and things like that. So ours, we sort of think of the medical alerts as a bit like the ambulance waiting at the bottom of the cliff. So if you survive the fall, they might be able to help you, but wouldn't it be better to try and alleviate it while they're still at the top of the cliff before they jump off? So that's what ours is. Ours is a proactive thing. It becomes part of their routine, of their everyday life, and routine for old people. And at 60, I'm not old. So if you ask you probably say, oh, yeah, 60 is really old. But for me, old people are 80 or 90. That's old people. So, they like routine, and it's supposed to be good for them. And I know one of the ladies that uses our service, she was telling us that for her it's sort of like her get out of bed call, her reminder. So it doubles as a wake-up call. And she said she purposely puts it further away from her bed so she physically has to get out of bed to answer the call. Wow. And she said then once she's out of bed and up and at it, then she gets up and she has a shower and she has her breakfast and she's good for the day. But she said if she didn't have that, she would tend to perhaps lie in bed for a little bit longer, read her book for a little bit longer, and not have the same incentive to get up. And when you said about a bit more about our business, what happens is if the person doesn't answer the first call, then there's 15 minutes later there's a second call, and if they don't answer that, then 15 minutes there's a third call. So that's 3 attempts within half an hour. So the assumption then is that they've either fallen or they've gone out shopping or something and forgotten. But what happens then is when the family members register, granny or whoever, they put down 2 alternate numbers. So that could be a neighbour or the member of a church, or in the case of the in-home, it might be their case manager or the Senior Citizens Bureau or somewhere there, or whoever they think. And we will call them and say, hey, we've tried to ring patients. She's not answering her phone. Could you please go and check? Could you push the button to acknowledge that you've received this call? So then it's up to them to go and check and see if none of those numbers answers. So that's 5 phone calls we've made to try and find out what's happening. Then the 6th one is then to the person that's paying the bill, and they will get a phone call or a text plus an email to say that we've attempted to call all the numbers that you've given us, but no one is answering, so you need to do something about it. And in that case, you would have some sort of emergency plan in place that you would perhaps ring the local police station or something like that to say, hey, we've got this service, my grandmother hasn't answered, could you please go and have a look? Or if you've got a family member or someone else that you know that can go there and check it out. And our service costs $33 Australian a month, so that's just on $1 a day. So I don't know how that translates into the other currencies, but it's a very nominal fee for an everyday call.
I see you have 7 days free trial, so tell us more about the trial as well.
Yes, for anybody listening tonight, we'd like to do a special offer. And if you go to our website, it's CareCallingNow.com. And if you go to the plan page and register, you will get 7 days free trial. And if you enter the code OSJ, so for Online Success Journey, and then 17 for 2017, so that's OSJ 17. If you enter that code in, you will get your first month after. If you decide to continue on after your 7-day free trial, you will get the first month for half price.
Wow, that's really great.
And there's no contract. There's no contract, so it's month to month. So you can opt out any time, or you just keep going, and it's just an automatic payment each month on the anniversary of the day that you signed up. So,
which countries are you now covering? Are you coming to UK very soon, or what is happening? What is the future plans for Care Calling?
Yep. Well, at the moment we're in Australia and the US and Canada, and we've had quite a lot of interest. We've got quite a lot of people following us on Twitter in the UK, so we're thinking perhaps there might be a demand. So if some of your listeners sort of say, hey, we really like this, and we find that there's, some a bit of inquiry for it, well, we would certainly investigate. It's only a case of adjusting the program to be able to cater for calling the UK. So It's in our intention to go there, but at the moment we, I don't know, we've just had start. We haven't.
Okay, you haven't come to it yet.
Closer to home.
Okay.
Yeah, stay closer to home, I guess.
All right. Okay, what is one thing that has contributed to your success so far?
For care calling or life in general?
For your care calling business.
For care calling? I think the fact that it's a fairly unique business, a fairly unique service here in Australia. Nobody's really doing what we do. The Red Cross do loneliness calls, but they use volunteers and it's conversation. And I know we spoke with somebody and she said, when I first started using the program was thinking about using the program, I thought, I don't know that I want an automated voice. I think I would like to speak to somebody, a real person every day. And she said, by the second day, I was so glad I didn't have to make small talk with somebody. It was just a case of, yep, push the button. Come on, hurry up. Tell me when I can push it. Come on. Yep, okay, push, done. And she said I didn't have to make small talk with anybody. I didn't have to talk about the weather or anything like that. It was done and dusted. And I think that's part of the success with it. And also with the Red Cross, you can only there's only a 2-hour window. So with our service, you can do it any time of the day or night. We have one lady in America and her daughter moved to Mexico and she was getting the service for her mum just to know her mum was still working. She said she just wanted peace of mind to know that her mum got home safely every night from work. So her call wasn't she was worried about something happening to her mum in the home. Her worry was that her mum got home safely every evening from work, because she lived in Chicago or somewhere, and I don't know, I'm guessing there were some certain concerns there for her. So it has quite a multiple of uses, and it can be for post-operative people even that have had surgery, hips or knees or something like that, and they only need it for 6 or 8 weeks while they are immobile and they live alone, and after that they perhaps might not need it, or they might keep using it just for the comfort of it. But it doesn't just have to be old people. It can be, disabled people. And, like in that case with that woman that I mentioned with the epileptic, that child perhaps could have been saved if someone had got to them sooner.
Okay. Where do we find you? What is your Twitter or Facebook or website?
Well, pretty much everything's CareCallingNow.com. On the website, it's www.carecallingnow.com. I think Facebook is the same, and Twitter I don't know, but I'm sure if you typed in Care Calling Now, you'll find Twitter in there too. I'm not so tech savvy in that sort of stuff. I didn't think to write it down. I'm sorry, but I can put it on your Facebook. I'll put it in the Skype thingy here, and you can perhaps add it when you send it out.
Okay, that's great. That's good. Okay, so clan, there will be more from Irene in a moment. If you are finding Irene's journey interesting and you are ready to hear more and listen to the full version of the interview at onlinesuccess.com. If you are on Online Success already, click on Part 2 on Irene's journey and you'll get more tips to help you with your own loved ones or your friends and the family, wherever they are around the world, to help you. And again, remember, you're not tied up to contracts. You can cancel anytime. So come and check it out and listen for more. And don't forget, you can access all other Online Success Journey interview podcasts on the site as well. That's a wrap, clan. Remember, success is a journey, Patience and Irene.
This is not the end of the journey. We hope you've enjoyed listening to part 1 and want to be sure you know there is a second part to this and every journey podcast at onlinesuccessjourney.com, filled with even more success tips, uplifting stories, and even a bit of fun. There are dozens of episodes only available to the members of the Online Success Journey clan. Check out the website and click on Join the Clan for more information. Patience would like to thank you for listening to this podcast, and she has a free audio gift for you at her website. Go to onlinesuccessjourney.com for instant access to this gift. Of course, you know that listening to the journeys of others helps each of us chart our own path. So make sure you're subscribed to be notified as each new interview is posted. There are so many ways to stay connected to the Online Success Journey and to listen in. And if you're enjoying the podcast, we appreciate your help in telling others. One of the best ways to share the benefit you get is to rate and review it at Stitcher and other sites by clicking the stars or completing the ratings form, by clicking thumbs up and leaving a comment on YouTube, or liking and sharing the podcast on social media. To review the podcast within iTunes, simply open iTunes to the podcast, click on Ratings and Reviews, then write a review. On behalf of Patience, and until next time, thanks once more for listening. It is our hope that this podcast will guide you on your own online success journey.